What's up, everybody? How's it going? Thanks for listening to the Whatcast. How you doing, Mike?
Well, the weather's starting to turn nice, so I'm becoming a little happier as an individual.
That's right. Not also do you live in ice hell, but the cold makes you grumpy. I always forget that.
Yeah. Miserable bastard in the winter. But the sun has been showing its head. But that being said, it's been nice for 3 days in a row, and living in upstate New York, that's a bit too much to ask. So we are going to be getting high 40s and low 50s and rain for the next 5 days straight. So
yeah, it's pretty much the same thing over here. It's been like your typical freezing winter, fucking 32 degrees in the morning, and then it was 85 degrees and then 89 degrees, and then we'll have rain next week.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but I'd rather take the cold, though. Even my kids were like, oh my God, I'd rather fucking be shivering than this bullshit.
Yeah, the thing is, I fucking hate cold weather so much. Like, when it's really cold, I fucking hate it. But when it's really hot, I can't deal with it either. And it's almost worse when it's really hot. Like, it almost feels like I'm being, like, crushed by, like the gravity increases and it's crushing my body.
Yeah, same here. I do not do well in the heat at all. Like, at all. All right, so what are we going to talk about tonight, Mike?
How much we are weak and pansies that can't handle Mother Nature and what she gives us.
Yeah, first 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's what you guys have to look forward to for the next hour and a half. We're doing an extra long episode today just so we can gripe even more than normal.
Oh, I don't think they've heard us gripe yet. I don't think that's anything we'll ever do.
You haven't heard griping yet.
You wait, you little son of a bitch.
Yeah, just wait till we get it even older.
Holy shit.
The older we get, the more miserable and grumpy we're going to become.
We're going to go from 12 to 7 listeners for sure.
Yeah. Or maybe we'll get more. We'll market the old curmudgeon demographic. That'll be our target.
Our regular listeners will age with us, so maybe.
I feel like most of our listeners are younger than we are. Like, whatever I find, like, whenever I'm talking to any of our listeners and I find out how old they are, they're always like in their 20s and 30s, and I'm like, you goddamn young bastard kids. What do you know about life?
Fun fact, I had a listener ask our age, and when I told them, they never talked to us again.
So awesome. They're like, oh, fuck you guys, you're way too old. I thought you were hip and happening. No, we're not. The fact that I said hip and happening should be proof of that.
Yeah. It's crazy. I like got my life ready to be hip and happening for my kids when I had kids. And now that I have them, they're like, yeah, cool. Good for you. There's this thing called Minecraft. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. That's the way it works.
I don't want to hear you play anything from Stone Temple Pilots Unplugged, Dad. Please leave me alone. No, they're not like that at all. They actually both play instruments, so I'm lucky in that regard. But I don't know. Do you run into that with your kids? Like me being like a somewhat of a drawer type dude. My children are, and they don't want any help with drawing. They won't. They don't want any advice. They don't want any lessons at all, even though it's something that I do like almost daily.
See, my kids, like, I'm a reader and a writer, and my kids fucking hate reading. Breaks my heart every goddamn day. They fucking, like, I can't pay them to read a book. Like, even books that I think they would like, I'd be like, dude, trust me. You'll read this book. You'll be like, yes, this book is, I'm glad they don't fucking, they're like, no, I'd have to actually read. And then my oldest, super talented writer, lazy as shit and will not do fucking anything. It's so frustrating. And then I go back to when I was his age and I was the exact same fucking way. Except I would, the only difference would be at his age, I was lazy as shit when it came to fucking school, but I would just read and write for fun. But he doesn't even want to fucking do that. He's like, no. It's so frustrating.
Interesting. So what are we going to talk about for real, Mike?
Oh, you mean you don't want to continue on this road? Well, I don't know. We want to talk about zombies or something?
We should. It's always somewhat fun, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a big zombie fan. I didn't watch The Walking Dead like at all. Like there was a point in time to where I'd like visit my mom and it was when The Walking Dead was on, so we'd watch it and then have dinner or something like that. But that was only for like a few months. But I don't know. I just don't think they're real enough or common enough for me to consider them anything other than fantasy.
Yeah, I'm not of the mind that there's going to be an actual zombie apocalypse around the corner. And I went through a zombie phase where I really liked zombies and was really like I think it started probably with Night of the Living Dead. The one from 1990 was the first one I had seen. I remember, I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so like there were always commercials and stuff for the awesome horror movies that came out at the time, and I remember seeing like previews for Return of the Living Dead and stuff. So I was aware of zombies and like the Thriller video and shit like that, but it wasn't until that Night of the Living Dead from 90 that I first got my first taste of zombies. And that movie, I was like, oh, fuck, this shit's awesome. So then I went and watched the original, which at the time I didn't enjoy very much, but I have now grown to love quite a bit. But I remember, like, at that point, just the idea of zombies was terrifying to me. And it was also, when I saw it, it was the early 90s at that point, and that was kind of like the revival of the dark, violent comics, and there were a lot of zombie comics around that time. And I remember I was probably like 11 or 12, and the dollar store used to sell comics 3 for $1. And I remember just buying based off the cover because they weren't Marvel or DC, so it was all stuff that I had never even heard of. So I'm like, oh, this cover looks cool. And I remember bringing it home, and it was a fucking zombie one, a zombie comic book, and it just had all these fucking just super, super violent shit, like stuff that I had never seen before that, like, as a kid, like, really disturbed me. Like, I zombies eating a baby and just ripping off a kid's arm and shit. Like, just completely fucking terrified me. And even though it was drawings, but it was more, I had a super active imagination as a kid. So I think it was more just the thought of what the drawings were depicting and trying to picture how that would be. So like that type of shit really scared me. And it was, all that stuff was before zombies were everywhere. The Walking Dead, I really think kind of pushed that over the limit, but games like Resident Evil and shit like that, and then the movie franchise kind of led the way for that. And then Walking Dead, it just fucking exploded, and then you got zombies everywhere.
Forever.
But, yeah, forever. We're never getting rid of it. I don't know. I think there's we're starting to see a little bit of a downturn in the zombie stuff, but for a while it was like everything. But there were some cool takes on zombies too, though. Then you start getting like the Infected stuff, like 28 Days Later, which I fucking love that movie.
Yeah, if we're talking serious zombie movie stuff, and I mean, like, Shaun of the Dead wins #1, but if we're being serious,
oh, absolutely,
28 Days Later is probably my favorite. I mean,
yeah, like
watching zombie movies and stuff with my kids and making them watch Shaun of the Dead. My daughter was like, "Would you be scared during, if this happened?" And I was like, "Not really. I have like literally a sword collection. I think we'd be fine. I think it's this addition of other people fucking trying to kill you for survival purposes is what really got everybody's interest in zombie stuff." The Walking Dead, looking this up for the show, that shit came out in 2010 and they're still milking that fucking show.
Yeah, the main show ended, but they've got, I think they announced 3 spin-offs.
No.
Yeah. I did start watching it when it started, but I stopped around season 3, but I told my youngest I would watch it with him cuz he has been watching it and he's on the second to last season, but he wants me to start it over with him, and he said he's not going to finish the show until we watch it together. So now I kind of, feel obligated to watch with him, but I would have been cool never watching it.
Yeah.
But he's super into it, so I told him I'd go and rewatch it with him. But it's so fucking depressing, That's the main thing. Like when I watch it, I want a compelling story, but I don't want to be constantly fucking depressed. And that's like what that show is. It's just like one bad situation to another, and things always get worse.
How do you think you'd fare in a zombie apocalypse?
I mean, honestly, I would just fucking end up in the woods and grow my own food and hunt rabbits and squirrels.
Yeah, I would have to fight my way out of a city.
Yeah, see, it wouldn't be too hard for me to get, because I mean, where I live is like a suburban area. It's, you walk like 2 miles in any direction and you're fucking rural all over again. So it's, I definitely, I would just find a rural area, hunker down, and hope for the best. Luckily, I'm not in a city area, so I don't have to worry about like huge crowds of people and trying to fight for resources and stuff. I've got plenty of experience growing plants, so I would be fine there so long as I had seeds.
See, are you considering like fighting off humans as well?
Yeah, well, I would definitely have to fight off humans if I stayed where I was. But I think if I went off and just fucking lived in the middle of nowhere, I don't think I'd have to face too many humans.
See, before it'd just be like a crazy survival adventure. Like, people were always trying to help each other out. There's always like one scene maybe in like all the zombie movies where someone was like, give me all your shit. And you're like, what a piece of shit. But now it's just everything. Yeah. Everything's always like surviving other people, which I think takes, like you said, makes it depressing, takes the fun out of zombie shit.
Yeah, like my favorite zombies are the one where it's just people fighting zombies. Like, and that's why I liked Night of the Living Dead. And I know there is like a conflict, a person versus person conflict, but it's not like people being shitty. It's a dude being fucking terrified and wanting to do its best to protect his family. And then you've got, other people that just happen to be in the same place he's in. But it's not like, piece of shit fucking scumbags raping and pillaging across the world.
Right. Now, we've all heard about different types of situations where a real zombie virus could come to be. And it's always, like I said, a virus. It's always some type of mutated disease or something like that. And now we have things with that one weird rotting disease with the deers where they're just like mindless and roaming around, and I guess they're finding a bunch of it in the meat and the borders and between Canada and the United States, and it could be transferred to humans. I don't know, there's some things like that. And then you've got this whole like the Last of Us mushroom fungus takeover type thing. What do you think about that? What do you think about either some type of fungus or virus eventually causing something like bodies coming back from the fucking dead?
Well, I don't think it would so much be bodies coming back from the dead. I think if anything, what it's going to be is some sort of virus or bacteria or whatever that's going to infect people and drive them mad. That's what I think it's going to be. It'll be something more like 28 Days Later where it's like a advanced rabies type of situation.
Ooh, okay. Like the happening, instead of everybody killing themselves, they would just try to kill each other as hard as they could.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe it's like something in the virus. makes it so you're able to, like, whoever's infected is able to kind of recognize fellow infected, so you don't attack each other, and that's how the virus spreads. You know, maybe it's like a scent thing, like, oh, you smell this way, therefore or it's pheromones. I don't know, but I think it'll be and who knows, maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll just be pure chaos, and you'll have these fucking infected going at each other and whoever else is involved, or, you know, within a close proximity. I don't know. That should, like, thinking about that is pretty fucking scary, though, because losing your mind is like one of the scariest things for me. And if you lose your mind and you're living in a world where people are losing their mind and becoming irrationally violent, what are you going to do?
Yeah, that's an interesting aspect. I think that's probably how it would go down. It wouldn't be so much of reanimated corpses, maybe some type of madness that's spread through. I don't know. It could be something as simple as something that accelerates our adrenal gland that makes us fucking...
Sure.
You know, after like 6 weeks of feeling like you have to run, people might just start bashing each other's heads in, or their own. What's the feeding habits of somebody who's like going at 2,000 miles an hour?
Yeah, I'd imagine they have to eat a lot.
Right? They're going to probably eventually land on eating other people.
Sure. God. Or just whatever they can catch.
Dude, we just made like the worst zombie movie ever, where they're just like complete fucking tweakers that can't stand still, and they're like, "Hey, how you doing, buddy? How you doing? Oh, you're pretty thick there, buddy."
That's how it starts. That's the early stages of the infection. They just start acting like tweakers. They're itching and twitching and just acting really erratically, and then they start biting themselves, and then they're like, "Oh my god!" Then they develop a taste for flesh.
Biting themselves, they start picking their scabs and eating the scabs, and then they just, everything turns into like bad YouTube videos where people just walk up to other people and they're all tweaked out, and they just suddenly pull out a hammer and whack somebody and drag them away.
Yeah. Or just leap on them and tear into their neck.
Yeah, stage 2.
Have you ever seen Pontypool?
No, I don't think I've ever heard of it. Oh my god,
dude! All right, that's one you need to track down. I don't know where it's. I know it's available for rent through Amazon for like $3. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere for free, but that's one you 100% need to see. It's the weirdest zombie movie. Like, I don't even know if you can call it a zombie movie. I'm going to give some slight spoilers, so anyone who wants like to know nothing, I guess, don't listen. Maybe, I don't know. They're only going to be slight. I'm not giving away plot points or anything, but the entire movie takes place inside a small radio station studio, and they're doing the morning show, and it's just the host of the morning show, his producer, and like an intern or something, and they start getting these weird calls in about people rioting, and then on air somebody gets infected while they're talking. And what it is, it's a virus that's being transmitted through the English language. So it'll be a certain word that will be like the trigger word that triggers the infection, and you become obsessed with the word. And the word like worms its way into your head and then drives you completely fucking insane.
Whoa.
And it's based on a book called Pontypool Changes Everything, which is so fucking weird. But the way it's described, it's like this virus, this infected word is trying to force itself through the face of the person. And so what they try to do to spread the virus is force their face into the face of another victim. So it becomes like super violent, and yeah, it's pretty awesome though. But it's the movie is nothing like the book at all, except for like the story is different. They're both written by the same guy, but the movie just takes place in the studio. The book is kind of like what happens in the world as this is going on.
I will definitely watch it.
Yeah, and the way it's the virus is designed is that if the person can't spread it, then they basically die as a result of not being able to spread this.
Whoa.
Like they'll injure themselves to the point of death. So they're not actually, these people aren't actually dead. They're just infected with this weird disease.
Man.
Yeah. It's fucking cool, man.
I mean, just like Evil Dead, they're not zombies, they're possessed corpses. I mean, there's so many different things that can happen that's like zombies. Well, you sent me a pretty cool article that talked a lot about zombies, some pretty cool stuff. A couple of things I didn't hear about before, and some that I've heard about but I didn't know anything about. One I found rather interesting. The first thing I read that was pretty cool was televised zombie attack warning. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I think I did, where it was like broadcast through the emergency broadcast system.
Yeah, total emergency alert. In February of 2013, Montana TV station KRTV's broadcast of the Steve Wilkos show was interrupted by an emergency alert, warning citizens that, quote, authorities have reported in your area that the bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living. It's hard to find a full audio recording of this alert. There's some like YouTube videos that cover it, that play it in part, but it sounds really, really, really authentic. And I don't know. I wonder what the reaction would be of people today. I mean, we all know about the War of the World stuff, which some of it turned out to be, over dramatized, but people freaked out when they turned on the radio and thought aliens were attacking the world. How do you think people would handle some type of, let's say, fake alert like that?
Well, unless it was broadcast through TikTok or YouTube, the majority of the people would have no idea.
That's very, very true.
And then even then, if it was broadcast through TikTok or YouTube, a lot of people would think that it was just some content creator trying to get hits or likes or whatever.
Right. It would probably just be ignored, huh?
Yeah, it's just like the fucking UFO videos now. Like, you can't trust a goddamn thing.
Well, I mean, it's so funny to see the UFO videos that are coming out now. I mean, some people send some to me on Instagram. I see a lot on Instagram. And you can just see the flooding, like the purposeful flooding of all these insane looking UFO videos. I mean, every UFO video now is like, holy shit.
Yeah, I just saw a fucking... a video, or not a video, headline today actually, saying that Logan Paul has the most compelling UFO footage that's available right now. Like one of these assholes that's doing all these government leaks or whatever is claiming that Logan Paul has the most compelling UFO footage that he's ever seen.
Have you seen that clip that's going around that's supposed to be the new most compelling UFO footage ever? So that pilot gets a flyby by this. It's a straight up silver craft.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
Pretty interesting stuff, but all the UFO videos are like that now. So it was just interesting to notice all of a sudden when leaks of videos started happening and Captain Rolex started releasing his videos, it's just that all these videos started coming out. You get to actually see this. What I think is an intentional flooding of all that shit. But back to zombies, sorry. But the next day after this emergency alert was broadcast, the station released a statement saying that they had been attacked by hackers who were responsible for playing the fake zombie attack warning. Now, we've covered strange broadcasts before, and it's some of my favorite stuff to cover. Almost every case has been proven to be hackers, and none of them ever caught, I believe, right?
Not to my knowledge.
Right? So they all get away. In each of those cases, it was noted how hard it would be to accomplish, how it would require some heavy-duty equipment and know-how. One case that stands out is the Max Headroom interruption?
Yeah.
They made mention of how difficult it would be to do that, and that was back in the, late 80s, early 90s, I think? So you'd think it'd be damn near impossible to do in 2013.
There was also the broadcast, I think it was done in England, but where they somebody hijacked the broadcast and said basically they were the Galactic Republic and yeah.
I remember that. But 2013, I mean, I think that was like the early 80s that broadcast happened. But 2013, it should be almost impossible to do. You'd think
You think so, right?
Yeah, you think that the switch to digital and computers being introduced into the industry would make it harder, but that might be the exact reason why it would make it easier. Who knows? I don't know anything about computers. And again, The Walking Dead had come out in 2010, so it was right like a couple years after the start of the zombie craze. If it happened today, I think the warnings would be about an alien attack, like we said. We know how that works out. I wonder if people would just start shooting everybody. People are shooting cheerleaders and little kids for basketballs and shit. So who knows? Who knows how people would deal with that now? But I found that interesting. I could imagine just sitting there watching that and fucking slowly looking up at the TV and going, "Holy crap!" Just for a second, just knowing like, man, this can't be real. But to experience it as it happened, that had to be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I to myself, I just think how I would react in it, and I think it would depend on the era in which it happened. Like if it were to happen now, I'd be like, oh, well, that's clearly bullshit and nothing's going. But if it were to have happened, like say 10, 15 years ago, I'd be like, oh my God, it's the end of the fucking world. We're all doomed.
See, I think that's my mind is doing that. I place myself going through that situation 10 or 15 years ago. When you mentioned Steve Wilco, I think of Jerry Springer, and I only watched that for a brief amount of time way back in the day. So, getting this announcement is definitely happening to a much younger Mateo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love for that to happen now. I want that to happen now so bad. Anything, just like some coastal city saying there's a giant serpent attacking that bay, something cool,
or like an announcement that there's a volcanic eruption, but then new reports coming in, it's not an eruption, it's actually a monster made of fucking fire coming out of the mountain itself.
Oh man,
yes, that's what I want. I want fire monster from the mountain.
Me too.
The gods are angry and they want revenge.
That would be so cool. Just the big reveal is all that ancient Greek gods and monster shit is the real truth of how things are, and now they've come back. They've let us fuck up the planet as much as they're going to.
And just when we think it couldn't get any worse, Cthulhu emerges from the ocean.
Mm-hmm. God, can you imagine that? It just stands up and does like this cool Capcom versus Marvel cutscene move to where he just raises his arms, his wings open, and everything turns into space. Like the Earth is just gone.
Yes, I love that.
Another thing that was interesting in this article you sent me was ConOp 8888, Counter Zombie Dominance. Have you ever heard of this?
No, I have not.
Oh, in 2014, a Freedom of Information Act request revealed a shocking protocol held by our U.S. government. ConOp 8888 is a complete, and I mean fucking complete protocol for the zombie apocalypse. It's got plan summary, defensive operations, offensive operations, environmental effects, operational limitations. It really reads like an authentic military plan of action. And that's because it is. I actually found the PDF format, and I'll put
now that you're saying this, I have heard of it. I didn't know what it was called, but I am familiar with this, the whole thing that the government has a zombie contingency plan.
Yeah. And I mean, I've heard of it, but to actually hear what it's called and then find it, and now being able to skim through it and read stuff in it. In the article, it says they mention zombie chickens and magical space zombies. I didn't see anything like that. It definitely...
magical space zombies?
That's what the article said.
What?
I was trying to read the actual document as much as I could before we started. But it's called a hoax. Now, when I got this PDF and I read it, the opening page has this disclaimer on it about how this was an exercise done by the junior officers of Kakapupu Pipidu, and it's an exercise that they were told to make interesting and just for practice in making an actual operation plan. Now, when you get to look at this PDF, it's this disclaimer is just an image put over this document. It's not part of the document. There's an actual cropped in picture of a zombie from Resident Evil. So as far as this disclaimer being part of this absolutely official document, I don't think that's the case at all. You could have done what this disclaimer is showing on your fucking cell phone. You could have done it on your cell phone in 2014 when this was released. So maybe it is an actual real protocol. I mean, once you get to read it and look at it, dude, it's fucking gnarly. I mean, it's me not being a military person. There's the table of contents have shit that I never would have thought of as far as planning any type of defense or attack or anything of the above. I mean, it's really, really detailed. But for them to call it a hoax just because of this disclaimer, I mean, it's ridiculous. It's in a different font and it's in a different color. It's in a different resolution than this actual report. So there's nothing official about this disclaimer that's been thrown on top of this official document.
So maybe it's something like, have you heard of the survival guide for the zombie apocalypse?
Yes, sir. I used to own it.
Yeah, I own it as well. Maybe it's something like that, where it's like a survival plan for, because I mean that book was centered around a zombie apocalypse, but it's actual like real survival tips. So maybe it was something like that. Like if things go to shit, let's just frame it around a zombie apocalypse. But if you think about a zombie apocalypse happening, think about something like a revolt against the government or crazy militants roaming the street. You're gonna adopt a similar survival strategy in that place, in that sort of situation, as you would in a zombie apocalypse, or even a Bigfoot invasion or a goblin invasion. You know, whatever the. I don't think alien invasion would count unless it was a ground invasion. Like if they're fucking on the ground, like we're dealing with tripods and shit, then you could follow some of the same protocol.
I just sent you this PDF of this document. I just want you to look at this disclaimer and see if that's a bullshit cover story that somebody was like, put something on there that says this is a joke real quick.
This fictitious plan was created by junior military officers undergoing training related to the Department of Defense's Joint Operational Planning and Execution System, JOPS, the formalized process by which the department conducts all contingency planning and execution. In an effort to learn the JOPS process and to do so in a more interesting way, the students were assigned this completely fictitious scenario and directed to use JOPS to develop a written contingency plan. Using this fictitious scenario avoided concerns over the use of classified information. It resolved sensitivity to using real-world nations or scenarios and better engaged the students. I mean, that sounds legit to me. That's a pretty decent way to fucking convince students to participate. And like I said, a lot of this stuff is going to apply in a real life scenario where you've got people versus people.
100%. I agree with you, but look at that disclaimer that's obviously been placed on this thing after the fact. And why would you need to do a Freedom of Information Act on a shitty fake situation that they did for fun, for training?
Because it's training, and you don't want to give away like your what you're doing for training, like as seemingly non-threatening as that is. That's still information that you wouldn't just pass out. Like, yeah, we're letting military students develop end time scenarios and how to fucking
I don't
survive, you know.
I don't think that's a fucking far off mystery. I don't think that there's any other government that's not doing that, and that doesn't assume that every other government's doing the same.
Yeah, but that's always the thing is military secrecy. You know, they don't want to share. Sure, and all, like, we got all pissed off about China sending spy balloons over, but we're doing the same fucking shit. we're sending spy drones and high altitude fucking satellites and shit.
Another thing that this article mentioned that I love the story of Wade Davis. You're familiar with his stuff? We covered his stuff way back in the day, like episode 6, where it's just called Zombies.
Wow, we did it that early?
It was really early on.
Well, I would say that explains why I don't remember, but I'm notorious for forgetting what we record as soon as we're done recording, so if we could have recorded it last week. I know we did cover what's his name? Narcisse. I always forget his whole name.
Right, yeah.
But the guy that the Haitian guy that was the zombie. I know we did that fairly recently on a Halloween episode, maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much the story of this Wade Davis guy. He has a couple really cool titles under his belt. I think they're perfect for what he went to go do, which was go to Haiti and study the whole voodoo, hoodoo, zombie thing. I'm not making a joke about it. There's actually religion, the voodoo stuff, and another one called hoodoo. But you might have heard of his stuff in a book that was turned into a movie called The Serpent and the Rainbow, which is a mega dramatization of what he went through going over there trying to get to the bottom of this stuff. But he is a cultural anthropologist and an ethnobotanist, which is somebody who studies a place's plants and as well as how a culture utilizes plants for all different reasons, for food, for medicinal purposes, ceremonial, ritual purposes, all that stuff. So as far as having good credentials and somebody who's going to go get to the bottom of zombie stuff and magic in Haiti, this guy is a good candidate, I think. Ethnobotanist, what a cool fucking job. I wish I knew that was a thing when I was a kid.
Yeah, I wish I was even into plants when I was a kid. I didn't give a fuck about plants until like fucking 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Once I started gardening, then I'm like, you know what? Plants are fucking awesome.
He came back saying that he had proof that the whole zombie thing was real. He talked about the Narcisse story, and he actually said he had the recipe to make a concoction to turn somebody into a zombie. Now, when we're talking about a zombie, when it comes to the Haitian stuff, from what I've studied and read, and I've watched The Serpent and Rainbow, I've seen interviews with this dude aplenty. It's not what you think. It's not a Hollywood movie zombie. What happens traditionally, and what I've heard him explain it as, is that, I don't know, you can go to like a witch doctor, a bad magic practitioner, dark magic practitioner, and you can have them give you something that will turn somebody into a zombie, basically. And what it does is make you appear dead, and then when you wake up later, you're in a zombie-like state. And this usually happens to a lot of like plantation workers or like mass factory workers, a lot of farming workers. They will complain about not getting paid enough, and then the owner of the company will have them fucking dosed with this special concoction that makes them appear dead. They're buried, and they emerge later in a zombie-like state. They're taken back to the factory, and they work with their mouth shut.
Yeah, they're basically slaves at that point.
Right. They're just in this zombie-like state. And after this, and I guess with the whole Narcisse dude story, he eventually snapped out of it. But I mean, there's plenty of pictures of graves that are broken open from the inside. It appears to be broken open from the inside. So this concoction is something that apparently exists. And he said that he can remake it. And one thing I found interesting about what he said about this mix that exists, that does this to people, is that he did a bunch of research and found that there in fact is a group of people, a tribe, I think is what he described them as, that live, they're a coastal tribe, and they mingle a lot with this type of pufferfish. They interact not on purpose. There's just a fucking ton of them there. They fish there, so they're going to run into this fucking thing. And its venom has a very specific effect. It will make you seem like you're dead for almost like a day or two. And after that, you'll wake up and they say you'll be all fucked up for a while, but you'll eventually snap out of it. And it happens so commonly to these people in this coastal tribe that if you get stung by pretty much anything, if they don't see what stung you when you're in the water and you die, they'll bury you on the beach like a foot deep.
Just in case you come back.
Yeah, you can climb your way out and hopefully have the wherewithal to make your way back to your people and get help. So he said that's part of this concoction that it's used in this concoction to turn people into zombies. And I always found it if just fascinating. I mean, this is the dude who would know all about that stuff.
It does make you wonder what else people are doing with people in the state. Like, is this if you're able to get someone in that state, like, imagine how easy it would be for human trafficking.
Oh God. Yeah, maybe roofies was something of the past. Maybe they just fucking blast people in the face with this zombie dust. And that's a fucking wrap.
Yeah. Yeah. You just breathe it in or get some in your eyes and your bloodstream and you just get shut down.
Just think of how many ODs are actually blamed on these cases where people die and they get taken away and presumed dead.
Yeah.
Maybe that will explain a small percentage of the frightening amount of people that go missing in this country.
Yeah, it's not interdimensional portals sucking them in. They're turning into zombies.
Yep. In a way, zombies are real, supposedly. I mean, like, there's TV specials like we watched when we were kids where you can see the Narcisse dude be interviewed, and they tell his whole story. They interview his sisters, the one who found him walking around that market, right?
Yeah, that case is very, very well documented.
Yeah, believe it or not, that's what's reported, and it's very well documented. My kids started watching zombie stuff. I mean, even all video game stuff, zombie stuff. They're like, "Are zombies real?" I'm like, kinda. They don't want to eat your brain, so that's good.
Yeah, put that in the way. And actually, they're not even violent. They're just fucking mindless.
Yeah, I'd be more scared of crackheads running around San Francisco or something like that.
I would be more afraid of the person that created the zombie than the zombie itself.
Right? What if that was a fucking thing? I mean, like, unfortunately, and it's terrible that this is something that the people in Haiti had to deal with. That's something you have to fucking worry about. Like, dude, I might get fucking zombied. I better act right. I better keep my mouth shut. Imagine if that was something that was, like you said, available today. That'd be so crazy. What if somebody doesn't like you, so somebody just walks up and blows a bunch of powder in your face and keeps walking?
Yeah, or what about like a tourist that, just fucks with the wrong person or does the wrong thing in the wrong place? Then zombied. Now
get in the factory and make those cannolis, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
Start programming my website, bitch.
Yeah, in today's day and age, they get turned into a zombie and have to work in a fucking call center.
Yeah. Now run my TikTok. Now respond to all my emails from Fiverr.
Go through my spam folder and tell me if there's anything good.
I'm looking for Kohl's coupons. Got it?
20% off or greater. I don't want any of this 10% bullshit.